What's up guys, today we're going to take a look at the Hasbro G.I. Joe Classified Series 6-inch action figure of the Python Patrol Officer. Please like, share, comment, subscribe, or even hit the super thanks button. I do appreciate all engagement on my channel. So here's a quick look at the box. The figure is on the plastic tray with all his accessories. Up front we also see the Python Patrol branding, as well as artwork of the officer. This time he's in his Python Patrol deco. On the top of the box, we do have a Cobra logo and he's numbered 56. Now to the bottom of the box, some product information. And onto the side, he's commanding his troops with a couple of jets flying off in the background. Moving over to the back of the box, and we see some artwork of a couple of structures in the middle of a jungle, and some overlays, and what looks like a map over here. Once again, the Python Patrol branding, as well as some more product information at the bottom. And we move to that last side of the box. He's got a couple of icons over here, some for leadership and ammunition, firepower, but what's also noticeable is a stealth icon over here. Once again, also numbered 56. So now, let's go ahead and get this guy open. And now that we got the figure out of the packaging, he comes with 2 rifles, a scope, a dagger over here, a spare ammunition magazine, a pistol, as well as a holster that goes to the back of the figure. And now that the figure is out of the package, we can also see the Python Patrol special backdrop inserted into the box. And here's a quick overview of how the figure is packaged with his accessories compared to the regular Cobra officer. He comes with mostly the same accessories, but this time he's got his helmet on the figure already, and he's also missing that sleeve for his rank compared to the regular Cobra officer. He comes with a pistol and a dagger. These are both cast in black plastic. The pistol is styled kind of like a Luger, while the dagger has silver for the blade. As I've said earlier, all accessories are exactly the same as those that came with the original Cobra officer, so of course he holds them just fine in his hands. And just like the regular Cobra officer, the pistol stores away on the holster on the right side of his utility belt, and we also see that the dagger also stores away on the sheath on his left thigh. His rifle holder is cast in a grey plastic with the sculpted Cobra logo on top, and it's got a peg over here, aligning the holes on the harness to the top of his back, and the peg goes into that hole securely. And once again, you can see how the rifle holders is exactly the same sculpt and goes into the back of the figure exactly the same way. The scope and the larger rifle are both cast in a black plastic, with the scope slotting into this hole over here on the top of the rifle. I do like the modeling of this rifle because it looks like an AK, so at least there's some element of realism for this rifle, exactly the same way that this rifle was originally introduced with the Cobra officer. But this time, instead of the brown, this one comes with a little bit of a mustard green, and this mustard green is a close match to the plastic that's used for the torso. Of course, he poses well with this AK looking rifle, and likewise you can remove the scope and the magazine and store them onto his utility belt as you slot the rest of the AK into that rifle holder that stores nicely onto the back. And his last accessory is a black compact rifle. You can stick that extra magazine into the side of that rifle and it fits in firmly. Quite cool old school sculpting for the realistic rails, as well as the old school style iron sights. And once again, he holds that compact rifle just fine in his hands, just like the original Cobra officer. You're also able to store this rifle the same way by pulling out that magazine first, and then sliding it into that rifle holder on his back. As we know with the Python Patrol range, we see a lot of reused parts, sculpting, and accessories. And this new Python Patrol officer is no different. All his accessories are from the Python Patrol. His neck, his torso, as well as his arms are from the regular Cobra infantry. And then when you have a look at his helmet, his head sculpt, his harness, as well as his belt, and the rest of his legs, all these parts are from the regular Cobra officer. He's got a more eye-catching color scheme, with the yellow really contrasting quite starkly against the rest of the black on his body. What I do find a strange choice is also using the regular Cobra infantry torso, so he's missing his rank over here on the left side of his chest, and he also comes with one less armband for his rank. So while I do like the novelty of his color scheme, it's just a bit disappointing that he's actually not carrying his rank on any part of his body. Where we do see his rank is only on his helmet. because that's exactly the same sculpt, but this time that whole helmet is cast in a black plastic with no further paint applications. So yes, it looks more stealthy, but actually could be looking just a little more dull. Removing the helmets to have a look at the head sculpt underneath. It's also the same sculpt, with no further paint applications for the panels that go on down the sides, as well as the front and the top of the head. Once again looking a little dull. He's got flesh tone paint applications for where you can see his eyes and his nose exposed beneath that mask. This time the paint applications are also just as sharp, so you can see clearly his eyes and his eyebrows. However, the flesh tone paint doesn't seem to be applied thickly enough, so he does look like he has a darker skin tone, especially since that flesh tone paint is applied on black plastic. So I suppose that's some diversity representation in Cobra. The harness and belt are cast in a grey plastic this time, with black paint applications for the straps on top. However, I do prefer the grey paint applications on the original, because that makes the strap and buckles in black stand out against the rest of the grey strap. Over here it's just entirely painted in black, so you do lose a little bit of the detail from far. The rest of the harness and the belt have the same detail, like the pouches and a couple of straps. And once we go back round to the back of the figure, likewise we see the same level of detail for the straps and pouches. And now I'm just going to take a look at the torso and arms compared to the original sculpt on the regular Cobra infantry. Once again, the Cobra logo is also painted, but this time it's in a bright yellow, together with a bright yellow crisscross pattern all over his torso as well as his arms. So there's quite an eye-catching deco. He's also got a hit of red paint around his collar. So I will say the most eye-catching part of the figure is, of course, that torso and his arms, with the use of bright and novel paint scheme. However, I will say some of the detail in the paneling of that torso and the arms do get lost a little bit, because we can see the dark blue paints applied on the mid-tone blue on the original Cobra infantry, while on the new one, what stands out is the black paint for the armor plate on his forearm, and that once again stands out really starkly against the yellow of his arm and his torso. The black paint also follows through onto the back of his hand that is cast in the grey plastic. So once again, I do like how the black paint stands out more against the grey plastic compared to the dark blue that really doesn't stand out against the black plastic that's used for the hand on the Cobra infantry. And now we have a look at his legs. We swing back to a comparison with the original Cobra officer. Once again, also lacking any paint applications, just a little bit of silver for the buckles on his more old school boots. His pants have exactly the same detail, paneling and texture, but this time it's all black plastic. The original Cobra officer had some nice contrasting colors for the blue of his legs and the black for his knee pad. The grey for his boots is a good match to the grey plastic on his holster as well as his belts. And I do like how there's a little bit more paint applications for the silver on the buckles on the sides of his boot, compared to the original, which only had that silver for the buckles on the front of the boot. So just finishing through a quick turnaround of the figure for his legs, and I will say that his legs definitely look much duller compared to his upper body. Articulation wise, he's got a ball hinge at the top of his neck as well as a ball joint at the bottom, so you can spin his head 360. Combining both joints at the top and the bottom of his neck gets you quite a good bit of sideways tilting. He's also got good range, able to look down quite well as up. He's got butterfly joints at his shoulders, so he does pull them forward that a little bit, as well as some backward range, pulling that far back. Swivel hinge at the shoulders for a 360 spin, as well as hinging outward just about 90 degrees. Upper bicep swivel, so that spins 360. Double hinged elbows, and you can still see the visible pins, bending just beyond 90 degrees. Swivel hinge at the wrist on his left wrist, and that goes 360 and articulates down as well as up. On his right wrist, he still retains that strange choice for swivel hinge, this time swiveling 360 but articulating inwards and outwards instead. He's got a mid-torso hinge and a ball joint at the waist, so he goes 360, spinning around. Sometimes the belt doesn't want to cooperate. He also gets a little bit of sideways tilting from that ball joint at his waist. He's got ball joints at his hips, so that do drop down and get you quite good splitting. Also quite decent range forward and backward. He's got thigh swivel for swiveling outwards as well as inwards. Double hinged knees for pretty good range. Pins are still visible. Swivel just above the boot for 360 spin. And he's got ankle tilt that is a bit tight, but gets you that much range upwards and downwards, as well as pivoting outwards and inwards. He's on G.I. Joe Classified Series standard articulation, so that means he moves well and you should be able to get him into various action poses. Size-wise, he stands at just over 6¼ inches, and that's just under 16 centimeters. Size comparisons-wise, here he is with the Python Patrol Bat and the Viper. They look great together with the yellow, red, black and grey palette. He also looks great as an officer of special technology with the rest of Cobra. And here's how he stands against some Joes like Snake Eyes, Duke, Lady J and Dusty. For comparisons with other lines, here he is with some Marvel Legends. And here we have some leaders for Star Wars Black Series troop builders. With the Python Patrol officer, Hasbro is sticking to the overall Python Patrol theme, which is bright colors on reused molds but with some accessories taken away. I'm a little bugged that he doesn't come with his officer armband, and I do feel like he could have used some paint applications on his helmet and lower body. But overall, I suppose this is a good homage to the Python Patrol 3¾ inch figures and is a nice addition to the Python Patrol collection. If you have no interest in limited series like Python Patrol and Tiger Force, then I suppose you can safely skip this one. Please like and share this review, let me know what you think in the comments below, and subscribe to my channel, or even hit that super thanks button. Thanks for watching, take care and stay safe.